Dearest Frank Miller, I am writing in regards to your recent comments on the Occupy movement, but first want to express my great gratitude for your legendary contributions to the comic book world. Batman Year One and The Dark Knight Returns are currently the most influential takes on my favorite comics character, and have influenced such tremendous films as Batman Begins and The Dark Knight. Sin City stands as arguably the best non-superhero movie in comics history. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Mr. Miller. Now let's get current. It's 2011, and your most prolific contribution to comics in recent years was All-Star Batman and Robin. It took you 3 years to get 10 books out, and when they did come out, man, I was pleased. The story was insane. Just as insane as your take on Batman and The Dark Knight Returns and The Dark Knight 2. Fun reads, man. Good times for all. Except, Mr. Miller, not only did you experience diminished returns in these recent books, which may be what led you to become so angst-ridden, but these are not depictions of Batman. These are examples of you using your well-earned writing credentials from your early work to continue to make a name for yourself by bastardizing others' work and the legacy of popular characters. While The Dark Knight Returns was a milestone in comics, it was still an off-the-wall alternate take on not just Batman, but the entire DC universe, which is what made it great, though your apparent lack of ability to write anything inside continuity begs the question of whether you can even relate to others in the industry or readers in the real world. Your characterizations are often far removed from reality, blatantly mouthpieces for your own insane drivel and, by extension, self-involved and lacking any hint of true human nature. Don't even get me started on Holy Terror, mainly because it was so awful I couldn't read it. So the fact remains apparent that your best work is behind you. All-Star Batman and Robin was also fun as hell, but Jesus, man, that ain't Batman. That's the goddamn Batman, basically an entirely new character. Your attempts at being radical and fresh in order to garner a reputation worked well in your early career, but these days, the more you write, direct, produce, and even say publicly, the more you exhibit how out of touch you are. It was one thing when you were just slowly becoming a dinosaur in the comics industry, but now you've gone and spoken out about the current affairs of our country. Christ, man. Take your Centrum and watch Jeopardy and shut up. Your time, not just as a comics writer, but as a positive member of society, is up. Here's a quote written by J. Michael Straczynski, written for Captain America. Quote, "Doesn't matter what the press says. Doesn't matter what the politicians or the mob say. Doesn't matter if the whole country decides that something wrong is something right. This nation was founded on one principle above all else, the requirement that we stand up for what we believe, no matter the odds or the consequences. When the mob and the press and the whole world tell you to move, your job is to plant yourself like a tree beside the river of truth and tell the whole world, no, you move." That quote serves two purposes here. The first purpose is to show you that you don't have to take radical approaches to beloved characters to make them interesting. You simply need to redefine and reinterpret based on the central themes and relevancy of them. The colors are there for you to use if you are talented enough to find them in paint. The second, more direct point, is that no matter what you or anyone say, these people believe what they are doing is right, and they have the freedom to express that. You certainly have the right to voice your opinion as well, but at least be responsible enough to be factual. Yes, there have been rapes and drugs. This, unfortunately, is pure mathematics and human behavior. Enough people in one place, and these things statistically happen in any nearly given scenario. For every rapist, there are 10,000 hard-working Americans who have had their chance at the American dream shat upon by rising unemployment, unscrupulous corporations, via subprime loans and tax loopholes that ensure your riches, while the fortune of most America falls. I'm not saying socialism or wealth distribution are the answer, but it is obvious when one views facts and statistics that the current system is breaking down. And since you were so baseless and without mercy in your calling out of Occupy Wall Street, it is only fair I return the favor. Do you only watch Fox News? Do you tune in to Rush Limbaugh daily to get your dose of angry tirades devoid of fact and heavy on slander? Is this a last gasp at relevancy? Has your career boom based on character rape and half-ass illustration that somehow got mistaken for true artistry finally seen its days as numbered? Well, kudos, Mr. Miller, for realizing that fact. We could have told you that 5 years ago when you failed to follow up on the success of Sin City, which was successful largely due to Robert Rodriguez's involvement. I hope that the following excerpt from your wiki is true, because if so, it really appears as if you are trying to alienate the majority of your readers. Quote, Miller is currently working on a new 5-issue miniseries, tentatively titled RoboCop and the Pond Scum. Some reports indicate it may involve the Occupy movement and features RoboCop beating the protesters until they are willing to get jobs. When most of them return to the camp, complaining that because of the recession few jobs are available, RoboCop then beats them again, telling them that this time to try their luck at being multimillionaire comic book writers. He also confiscates all of their iPhones. Your career was a fluke, forged upon the backs of real talent and iconic stories, with a couple of accidental revelations here and there, 300, Sin City, neither of which, beyond the surface, are anything more than cock-in-hand macho narratives that appeal to those of us who once in a while enjoy spending money on entertainment with no true emotional or thematic value. Your contributions to popularizing comics in a mainstream format are undeniable, but you could have the decency to do as other flukes before you, like Kurt Cobain did, and die before you become a joke with nothing to offer the world. Apparently, fear-mongering and the omnipresent and unkillable threat of terrorism and Islamicism have done what they seem to do to most out-of-touch old folks. Scared the living piss out of you and corrupted your mind to the point at which you can no longer see other, possibly more immediate threats to our country. Your remarks are those of a man who lives inside his comfort bubble and occasionally casts detached glances down at the very peasants who have spent their hard-earned money to lift you up to your throne. Does the Occupy movement need to get its act together in order to accomplish anything? Yes. But it is a young movement that appears to be doing nothing but growing and collecting its popular beliefs and forming directives through a democratic system, which may take some time. Some point to the fact that Occupy Wall Street should be blaming government, not corporations, like the Tea Party. As with anything, the truth lies smack in the middle. Government is owned by corporations and lobbyists. The two sides have much more in common than they realize, just separated into two views. In order for real change to occur, these two seemingly opposing views should be reconciled. That's my take. From what I can tell based on conversations with fellow comic book fans, articles, comments, box office returns, and critical reception of your work in the last 10 years, I am in the majority of folks who want you to just go away now. We are the goddamn 99% of people who don't give a goddamn about you anymore. And if I were to sum up your overinflated ego and offer proof of its effect on your ability to create anything worthwhile, to further show evidence of your being out of touch with the world, I would simply use two words: the spirit. Bowel movement indeed.